So now that we've discovered that we are ignorant and that our basic problem is the confusion between subject and object, and that we get, as long as we think the world is real and as long as I think I'm this person, I'm ignorant of who I am. And a basic premise here when you investigate the world is that the world is non-dual. It's called Advaita Vedanta. Advaita means non-dual. Dvaita means dual. Advaita means not dual. So the thing is that there is only one reality. There is only one reality, one existence, one consciousness. It's not like everybody has different consciousness. There is just one consciousness. Like, you can compare it to electricity in the sense that there is only one electricity. There is millions and millions of light bulbs and electrical appliances and so on, but they all run on the same electricity. And so if a light bulb stops working, it's no big deal. You just change the light bulb. It's not the electricity is going to be unaffected. And so the thing is that reality is non-dual. There is no separation in reality. And in case there is a separation, please tell me, how does this separation occur? And that's that's an underlying premise in this knowledge, that the world is non-dual, that there is a unity, there is no separation whatsoever. But that is what happens with ignorance. When you get the subject and the object confused, then you have dualism and you have separation. And that is how I experience. My view on the world is dualistic, because when I think I am an object, I'm separate from the world. I'm separate from the outside. And that creates a huge problem, and it creates a deep feeling of alienation. And it's basically the cause of my suffering and the cause of all my problems is this misunderstanding that I'm having a dualistic perspective on myself and the world. And so this is what happens when that's the cause of that's the basic root of the ignorance, that we live in a non-dual reality, but through our ignorance it looks like it's dualistic. This is how I perceive the world. When I see another person, I feel, okay, there is another. I feel separate from this person. But another way of seeing this, if you look at a film and you have the actors on the screen, you could say that it looks like Nicole Kidman is different from Tom Cruise. Okay, it looks like it's two separate people on the screen. But when you investigate it, you will see that they both consist of the same light source. Both are consisting of light being projected onto the screen. So there is no separation between Tom Cruise and Nicole, because it's just light, the same light in different forms. And that's the same with this world, that it's just one consciousness, one light source projecting this world. But because we think the world is real, we experience the world as being separate. We experience ourselves separate from other people. We experience ourselves separate from objects, furniture, cars, mountains, flowers, and so on. But if we investigate it, we will see that I am the world. I'm one with the world. I can dissolve this separation of ignorance. This is an old story. It's expressed in many myths, and basically the story about Adam and Eve in the Bible is an expression of this separation, of how dualism came into the world. It's called they call it the fall of sin, or something like that. So in the beginning there was the Garden of Eden, where everything was harmony and peace, and animals and everybody was living in peace, and that is the kind of an image of the non-dual state, where animals in many ways are are still in a non-dual state, in the sense they haven't made this separation as much as we humans has. But what happens is that when Eve, they blame the women on this, but anyway, the female is the female power, which is the Shakti, which is the life force. So anyway, she eats the fruit of the tree of knowledge between good and evil, which was forbidden to eat from. Okay. And so what happened was that they became conscious, they became self-aware. And how did they become conscious? Yeah, well, how did know God that? How did God know that they ate from the tree of knowledge? Well, okay, he should be omniscient and know everything, but still, they became shy after they've eaten of the tree of knowledge. And you become shy because you all of a sudden have concepts. Animals are not shy because they don't care whether they're naked or not, but humans do, because we have concepts of certain parts of the body are kind of impure, or we kind of feel shy about certain parts of the body. But that you need concepts and ideas in order to imagination, in order to have that kind of ideas about yourself. And so this is how we create our whole world for ourselves, through our minds, through our concepts. We put names on everything, and therefore then we cannot experience things the way they are anymore. You cannot, the moment you put a name on a flower, you're not experiencing the flower, you're just experiencing the word of a rose, right? As Gertrude Stein tried to make up by saying the rose is a rose is a rose, like the closest you get to a rose is the actual experience of it, not the concept of it. So anyway, so that was when the shit hit the fan in the Garden of Eden, where we ate of the tree of knowledge, and we got kicked out of the paradise because we became dualistic. Our view of the world became dualistic, and that happens through our minds. But still, it still was an improvement, because we're not driven by our instincts anymore, and so I think it was a good thing. I don't consider the Adam and Eve as a historic event. I consider it a symbolic story for sure, but it is an illustration of that basically the world is non-dual, and that duality is a creation of the mind. The duality is just a perspective. It's a mental perspective, and it's a mental construction of the world, which is basically wrong. That the world is non-dual, reality is non-dual, but through our minds, through our concepts, we create this imaginary world, and we become victimized by it, completely victimized by it. And therefore, we are slaves. We are in prison. We are in prison of our own minds. And that's why Plato used this illustration of the slaves in the cave. They were chained to the floor through their ignorance. And that is, unfortunately, our predicament. But the good thing is that the old man is here. The Vedas and the knowledge of spiritual traditions are here to clarify and remove our ignorance, which is the basic project of all spirituality, is to remove ignorance and become free. And but we will come to that, because it's not so easy to get free, because it's so ridiculously easy. That's the hard part of it. But we will come to that.